Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today, doing more of the 2021 True Boxing Awards. I'm really excited to bring these to you guys. Some of my favorite things to do during the year is the Boxing Awards, and this award is for the 2021 Upset of the Year. Give me 1 second. So, what is an upset? What qualifies for this? Well, upsets are pretty simple. It's when a guy's not expected to win and he pulls off a win. Well, for me, it's all about the impact of the fight. You're going to hear me say that all the time. Impact. How impactful was it on boxing? It's not just what it means to you personally. It's how impactful is it on boxing? Are a lot of people talking about it? Are a lot of people shocked? And there's different variables to that, to what qualifies. Examples this year. You got a guy like George Kambosos. Hadn't really beaten anybody, and he upsets Teofimo Lopez, one of the top fighters in the sport. Definitely the top guy at 135. But then you got Alexander Usyk, who defeated Anthony Joshua. I think people saw that as an upset for a different reason. They saw that as an upset because Usyk is a small heavyweight that moved up to fight a big heavyweight, And I think that's why that was more of an upset to people than to some people than maybe Lopez and Kambosos, And then you got guys that come out of nowhere, no name at all, like Mauricio Lara knocking out Josh Warrington, or guys like Kiko Martinez, a thought to be faded former world champion, who pulls off a monster upset over Kid Galahad. So this is what qualifies as upsets. Now, same thing. I go for my candidates in each division. Some divisions, a couple divisions, I had more than one. And we go from 122 to heavyweight, talking about the candidates, and then I give you my top 5 and winner. So let's jump into it. 122. I didn't have a candidate at 122 for upset of the year. Most of the major fights that took place at 122, the favorite won, or it was an evenly based match and there wasn't really a favorite, so it really wasn't an upset because the fight was viewed as something that could go either way. 126, Featherweight. This is a tough one to choose, so I gave 2 candidates here. But I'll tell you who I had in advance and who wins the award for the division, because you want to win the award for your division too. You want to be the upset or whatever the award is, unless it's a bad award. But the award for the second best upset of the year at featherweight, it was close, but I gave it to Mauricio Lara for his 9th round knockout of Josh Warrington. Man, this was a major upset. Warrington was still considered to be the top guy, or number 2, or running 1A, 1B with Gary Russell Jr. at featherweight. And, he had given up his belt because he wanted to pursue a world title against Shu Kan of China. So he gave up his IBF belt, and he took on Mauricio Lara from Mexico, who was widely unknown. And Lara went out there and beat the shit out of Josh Warrington, beat him down, broke him down, and one punch knocked him out in the 9th round. It was a huge upset and a major win right there. So that was an upset. The award goes for the division though, for featherweight. It just barely beats out Lara Warrington. But I gave it to Kiko Martinez's 6th round knockout of Kid Galahad. This one, the reason I gave it over the Lara Warrington fight is because a couple reasons. One, it was for the legitimate world title. Galahad was also ranked 1 or 2 at featherweight at the time. But I did it because Galahad was dominating Martinez up to that point, where Lara just went in there and beat Warrington's ass the whole fight. But Martinez was getting worked, and he almost got hurt and put down, and Galahad was absolutely working him, and then Martinez came out of nowhere with an overhand right, that flattened Kid Galahad right before the 5th round ended. Galahad shouldn't have been sent back out there for the 6th round, and he got cracked again with another huge right hand and laid out, and that was all she wrote. But yeah, I mean, I gave it to Kiko Martinez over Kid Galahad. That was a huge upset. You know, at his age, with his record, he was viewed highly as a over-the-hill former champion that really wasn't a great champion at 122. He had like a streak of wins when he first captured the title. I think he had like one or two really successful defenses against quality opposition, and then he got beat by Carl Frampton and hasn't been back in the mix since. You know, and for him to come out all these years later and upset a highly regarded Kid Galahad was just impressive. So that was a monster upset. 130, the upset of the year goes to Oscar Valdez's 10th round knockout of Miguel Berchel. That was a huge upset. Even though Valdez was a champion from 126, nobody thought he was going to move up to 130 and upset Miguel. You know, he was going to fight his second or third time at 130 and upset Miguel Berchel, who was the top dog in the division for years. He had been the top dog in the division. So nobody saw that coming. Big upset. 135, it was George Camboso's split decision victory over Teofimo Lopez. I mean, he was a mandatory #1 contender, but his best win to that point was against Lee Selby, a former featherweight champ who he barely beat. Yeah, that one definitely, nobody saw that coming. Lopez was coming off the win against Lomachenko, and yeah, just totally did not see that coming. He was at the top of 135 when it happened. Absolutely upset of the year at lightweight. At 140, I gave this one just because it was close enough to 140 and it really wasn't a quality upset at 140. I gave it to Sandor Martin's 10-round majority decision over Mikey Garcia. Sandor Martin came out of nowhere and beat a guy that was, you know, a year or two ago in the top 10 pound for pound. I mean, this was a monster win right here and upset. Monster upset. Nobody saw Martin coming in and completely outclassing Mikey Garcia, just beating him to the punch. Mikey couldn't figure him out. He was in the fight. Mikey was just based on his pure skills, but Sandor Martin fought the fight of his life. That was a huge upset. 147, upset of the year. I got to go with Yordenis Ugas's 12-round unanimous decision over Manny Pacquiao. He took the fight on short notice. Ugas has the kind of style that obviously can stop a guy like Pacquiao, that can beat a guy like Pacquiao, but nobody thought that was going to happen. A lot of people thought Manny was just going to go in there and beat Manny after a 2-year layoff, and Ugas pretty much shut him down. He threw the jab, outboxed Manny Pacquiao, and got a big upset decision that ended up retiring Manny Pacquiao. So this was a big upset right here. I think it was more of an upset, though, in my opinion. I don't think people were so surprised that Ugas beat him. I think it was more of an upset because Ugas wasn't a big name. That made, you know, sense. That makes sense. That's still an upset. When a guy's not a big name and he upsets a guy with a monster name, one of the best boxers of all time, that's an upset. And people need to recognize that. Now, 154, I didn't have a candidate at 154 for upset of the year. Really wasn't a qualified one, in my opinion. 160, middleweight. That one went to Luis Arias's 10-round split decision over Jarrett Hurd. Jarrett Hurd was trying to make a comeback. You know, he hadn't fought since January of the year before, and prior to that, he hadn't fought since losing his unified world titles to J. Rock Williams in 2019. So, a lot of time off in between fights, and Jarrett Hurd, I think he was only moving up to 154 for the moment. I don't know what his future plans still are, but he went in and against Luis Arias, who is, you know, a guy that we know likes to scrap it up, but nobody saw this one coming. Jarrett Hurd got beat to the punch and lost a split decision. This was a big upset big upset this year. 168 was Gabriel Rosado's 3rd round knockout of Bektamir Melikuziev. Beck the Bully is what they called Melikuziev. He was undefeated. I want to say at the time he was like 8-0 with 7 knockouts, something on that level. I mean, he was actually in line to fight Sergey Kovalev early in the year, and Kovalev tested positive for banned substances, and that was up at 175. So he got put in against Gabe Rosado in June at 168, and people were looking at it as the way they look at Gabe Rosado. Gabe Rosado is a consummate gatekeeper, and that's what he was being viewed as against Melikuziev. And in the first round, Melikuziev made it look that way, and then Rosado cracked his ass, face planted him in the third round. Monster upset right there for Rosado. 175, I didn't have a candidate for upset of the year. Light heavyweight. Cruiserweight, didn't have a candidate for upset of the year either. Heavyweight, absolutely Alexander Usyk's 12-round unanimous decision over Anthony Joshua. This was a monster upset. It really was. Nobody saw, not a lot of people gave, they thought Joshua's size and his power were going to be the thing that beat Usyk. Now, I think there's a lot of people that weren't surprised that Usyk pulled it off, but I just don't believe many people thought he was going to do it. You know, I wasn't surprised. I just didn't think he was going to do it. That was my prediction. And he went out there and outclassed and outboxed Anthony Joshua. And Anthony Joshua fought Usyk's fight as well. This is only Usyk's third fight at heavyweight. So a lot of people were surprised that he was able to pull off this kind of win over a two-time unified champion, Anthony Joshua. It was a big win. But now my top five for upset of the year, my top five. Number 5 goes to Sandor Martin's 10-round majority decision over Mikey Garcia. You know, I can't explain how big of a name Mikey Garcia is in my state of California where I live. He's a monster name. But he's also a guy that really took over multiple divisions and was on the pound-for-pound list as of like 2019 when he fought Errol Spence Jr. and he got his ass whipped. But most people will agree the reason he got his ass whipped is because he decided to move up 2 weight classes to fight Errol Spence. But Mikey is still viewed as a highly regarded, pound-for-pound fighter. He is, I mean, even in his first fight back from the Spence fight last year in February of 2020 before COVID hit, he went in there against a very quality former champion in Jesse Vargas, and he got a close decision against him at 147. So Mikey proved that he can still fight at an elite level. And going in against Sandor Martin was an absolute nobody. And a light punching nobody from that standpoint. So a lot of people were looking at it like Mikey's power is gonna get to this guy, and his combinations and skills. And that just didn't happen. Mikey couldn't figure out and was getting beat to the punch. It was a lot of lead left hands from Sandor Martin, the southpaw, that were just catching Mikey off guard. But Mikey was you could see he was out of his element. Maybe he was a little rusty, but Sandor Martin went out there and he went to Fresno, California, and pulled off this upset. And that was a big time win right there. Big upset. He finishes number 5. Number 4, I got to go with Yordenis Ugas for his 12-round unanimous decision over Manny Pacquiao. Some people might even argue for more, but I think I have him here, and I think it's fair because I'm not all that surprised that Ugas beat Pacquiao. For multiple reasons. One, he just has the kind of style that could beat a guy like Manny Pacquiao. Yordenis Ugas is proving to be a very good welterweight. I mean, he beat, a lot of people think he beat Sean Porter when they fought. And his style absolutely neutralized Omar Figueroa. He beat the shit out of Omar Figueroa. And, so he has the kind of boxing ability and that kind of awkward style that could really disrupt anybody. And, hey, he's about to fight Errol Spence. You never know. He might be able to upset him, too. But, going in against Pacquiao, he took the fight on short notice. Pacquiao also hadn't fought in 2 years. So I think a lot of that had to do with, and I think there's something from that. I'm not making excuses. I just think those are legitimate reasons that combine for this upset to go down. But I still didn't think, even with all that, I wasn't surprised that he beat Pacquiao, but I didn't think he was going to beat Pacquiao. And Pacquiao, being an all-time great fighter, has made a name on beating guys like this just with, his name. And Ugas was not, wasn't thrown off and he didn't get caught up in the moment. He went out there and he pulled off the biggest victory of his career in a huge upset. So that's number 4. Number 3, I got to go with Oscar Valdez for his 10th round knockout of Miguel Berchelt. I don't think people respect how big of a favorite Miguel Berchelt was going into this fight. Valdez was not considered to be a hard or a big punching featherweight. He had some knockouts, but his best win was against Scott Quigg, and that, I don't think a lot of, just moving up to 130, most people just didn't give him a chance. They felt like he ran from Shakur Stevenson at 126, which he did, and heading up to 130, heading into this fight, I talked to a couple of people that I know that are boxing experts, and the majority thought that it was going to be somewhat of an action fight while it lasted, but that Miguel Berchelt was just going to overwhelm him with his skill and his power, and he was going to destroy Oscar Valdez. I mean, that's what the template was. And I thought that. I thought that if anybody thought it was going to be an all-action fight, they were tripping. And if it was going to be a one-sided fight, it was going to be absolutely Berchelt over Valdez. But Valdez had come out and absolutely neutralized Miguel Berchelt. I mean, from start to finish, Miguel Berchelt could not figure it out. And then the knockout was fucking amazing. Great knockout that Valdez scored in this one. Berchelt was the number 1 guy at 130 from 2017 through 2021 when he lost to Valdez. So that's over 4 years Berchelt shut down 130. Outside of a stint by Vasily Lomachenko, but Berchelt was the man at 130 pounds. And that was a big upset for Oscar Valdez to pull that off. Number 2 goes to, and it was close, but it goes to Alexander Usyk's 12-round unanimous decision over Anthony Joshua. And I think I gave it to this one, or to Usyk. I think I put him number 2 because I don't think, myself, I wasn't surprised that he beat Anthony Joshua. I thought the template was there for him to beat Anthony Joshua, but I didn't think he was going to do it. I just didn't. But he's definitely a master boxer. He is. That guy has it figured out. And he forced Joshua to fight his fight in the middle of the ring boxing. And he completely outclassed Anthony Joshua doing it that way. So Joshua was a monster. The size was big, but it wasn't an overwhelming thing. That was the thing that concerned me, is a lot of people were saying it's only his 3rd fight at heavyweight. He's not a big puncher. I said, yeah, but he's a great boxer. He could take a punch. And, Anthony Joshua's bigger, but is he that much bigger? And I didn't see it as it being that way. So I felt like Usyk, the reason I put him number 2, it was a big upset. It really was. But number 2 is because I wasn't surprised that he beat Anthony Joshua. So my number 1, 2021 upset of the year. This goes to George Kambosos Jr., his 12-round split decision over Teofimo Lopez to become the unified lightweight champion of the world. This fight took all year to make. Kambosos coming in was really mostly unknown. And Teofimo Lopez was coming off of maybe questionably the biggest win of the year in 2020, his upset of Vasily Lomachenko. I think I had his win over Lomachenko number 2 on the year. Tyson Fury knocking out Deontay Wilder was number 1. So if that shows you any indication right there of how big of a fight, how big of a name Lopez was, it was that. Kambosos, it was whatever. He made it personal. Their fathers got into it. Kambosos got into Lopez's head, and Lopez went and tried to take his head off. And he got caught and he got hurt. From there, it was kind of a firefight. Both guys won rounds. They had moments. I thought Kambosos was doing the better work, but Lopez was landing good hard shots as well. But Lopez was headhunting. And Kambosos getting in his head, I think Lopez overlooking Kambosos totally played into this part. But the thing that was impressive as hell for Kambosos' win was after getting knocked down in the 10th round and people thought he was finally done, he came back and won the championship rounds, and that's what won him the fight. But that was a monster upset, him knocking off Teofimo Lopez, and it absolutely deserves to be my 2021 upset of the year. So the winner for 2021 True Boxing Award upset of the year absolutely goes to George Kambosos Jr. for his 12-round split decision victory over Teofimo Lopez as he captured the unified lightweight championship of the world at 135 pounds. All right, guys, that's True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.